uh, well, thank everyone for joining us here this evening and attending our session that's talking a little bit about scholarships and funding your future. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Barclay Walker. I am the consultant for DSBN for Student Success and Guidance. And supporting me in the background tonight is Karen Douglas. And we welcome everyone here and join us this evening. A couple housekeeping items, just so you're aware. Everyone in our Zoom session here has had their mics set to mute, and I do not believe you're going to be able to unmute your mics. But as the evening goes along, if you need to ask us a question, please do. The chat feature is enabled, and Karen will be monitoring the chat feature. And I do believe we have a couple other guidance teachers here joining us this evening as well, and I believe they have the opportunity to monitor the chat, and they can let us know if there are questions occurring. Just before I begin this session, I'd like to acknowledge that I am presenting to you and this gathering from the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabes peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering places home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and acknowledging reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendship of Indigenous peoples. So this evening, we're going to touch on a couple items here. As you'll see our image here, some of you who are a little bit older will know the movie Jerry Maguire and Jerry's famous scene of "Show me the money." And hopefully by the end of this, you'll be able to take away a couple ideas and things you need to be doing as part of your scholarship work, whether that's for this year or for future years. I just have a little lag here with my computer. There we go. So where is our money coming from? Well, traditionally, if you are fortunate enough, you may have a few hard-earned dollars in your savings. You may have had a family member who was able to set up a registered education savings plan, which is an RESP. And there may be other sources of income that are available to you in your private worlds. A lot of times, though, of course, our savings and RESPs are great options to help us, but they're never enough to get us through our tuition and living expenses as we go through our post-secondary degrees. So we're always looking for opportunities for other monies in the forms of scholarships, bursaries, and grants. Along with the scholarships, bursaries, and grants, of course, there are banking and financial institutions like our credit unions that do also provide students with loans and line of credits. And that is a conversation that involves also having co-signers and guarantors for those. Other sources of income, one thing we always encourage our students to do is, whether you're at college or university, looking for programs that have co-op opportunities. Co-op opportunities in post-secondary are quite different than co-op opportunities that we have in high school, because during your co-op terms, you are paid. So these co-op placements are paid in post-secondary, and they can certainly help with paying tuition and also helping with experience for your resume for a job in post-secondary and after graduation. So looking for those co-op opportunities as part of your programs and the programs you apply to are really important. And of course, there is also the Ontario Student Assistance Program. We're going to touch on some highlights of that one tonight. We're not going to go into a huge amount of detail with that, because there will be some opportunities later on this spring to learn more about OSAP and the programs available through our local financial aid offices, and they will be coming around with their expertise to share. So let's start with some terminology here, because you'll hear this all the time. There are two worlds of money. There are things that are called grants, and grants are typically free money and money that you do not need to repay. And so grants can take the form of scholarships, they can take the form of bursaries, and if you're in the OSAP system, it actually is called a grant. Whereas the loan part, loan is the money that you will need to repay after you're done your post-secondary schooling. And whether that loan is from a bank or whether that's part of a student loan through OSAP, right? This is money that needs to be repaid. And of course, there's that lovely concept of interest that is charged to everyone when they are working with a loan. So loans are usually our last resort if we need them. So what's a scholarship? Well, scholarships and awards that do not have to be paid back, right? They fit into that category of the grants. And scholarships can come in a variety of forms that are some way often attached to achievement. This achievement may be academic merit. This achievement may be for community focus and work that you have done outside of school or within your school. For some students, scholarships are tied to athletic opportunities and athletic success. There are a variety of reasons for scholarships. Bursaries, though, bursaries are awards that tend to be connected to financial need. And again, these awards do not need to be repaid as well. The important part when you're looking through scholarships and bursaries is always to look through the criteria that they present, and they're usually very clear as to whether or not you meet that criteria. And here's just some of the highlights about OSAP. OSAP is a program that helps fund your post-secondary education. Students can receive up to $10,000 depending on their financial need. And there are a series of questions in the OSAP application that OSAP will gather from you about you and your family to help make that determination of and what also they will ask you about what program you're applying to and the cost of that program to help determine what level of funding. The one thing I do want to say about OSAP is OSAP will not cover 100% of your post-secondary education. OSAP makes some assumptions that as a student, you are able to work and you are able to use those hard-earned dollars from your work to help pay for a portion of your education. So OSAP will never be a 100% coverage of your future. The interesting part about OSAP here is that there are two pieces to OSAP. There is a grant portion and there is a loan portion. The loan portion must be paid back, but that doesn't happen until after you're done being in school. And there is also a grace period before you start to accrue interest and have to pay the interest. And their payment schedule is based on a 9.5-year repayment schedule. Hopefully, if you are in a position where you have to draw on an OSAP loan, it won't take you 9.5 years to repay. They do have loan forgiveness and some other opportunities within the OSAP program, and you'll get more information about that with the presentations from financial aid. We titled the slide Slush Fund because there's some important things you need to know about upfront. There is some money you are going to need ahead of time, even before you walk through the door of your post-secondary school in September. And part of those things is our deposits that you need to pay, right? There will be a tuition deposit that you are going to have to make in the early summer. Sometimes it's as early as the middle of June. There is deposits to guarantee a spot in residence if you are going to be living away from home. And you are going to need to make those payments. But of course, those payments often come in before we have scholarship money available to us. They come in before we have OSAP money available to us. So you need to be aware that there are some upfront costs. And that also includes money from RESPs, right? Because RESPs, when you go into the bank to draw on those funds, they are going to want to see proof of enrollment letters and that you've secured a spot. And so sometimes your RESP money, you're not able to arrange until later in the summer as well. So there are some upfront costs you need to be aware of and you need to budget for. And so please know that these are some conservative figures, but typically a tuition deposit is around $500 and a residence deposit will be somewhere between $500 and $2,500. And so sometimes you might need to connect if you are in some financial difficulties with the financial aid office at your post-secondary school. But please be aware that there are some upfront costs to your education. So budgeting is going to be a really important factor for you going forward as you go into your post-secondary journey. One of the things to know, if you are an OSAP candidate and you are eligible to receive OSAP, is that the money you get for OSAP is not equal in the year. OSAP is typically released in two installments. There is an installment that you receive in September after you have started school, and there will be an installment you receive in the second term in January. But it's not a 50-50 split. OSAP is set up in such a way that they feel that you have more costs up front when you're starting school in that September. So you will receive your lump sum of about 60% of your OSAP at the beginning of the year. And so you need to budget that because you're not going to get as much OSAP in the second half of the year. And so knowing what your budget looks like and living within that budget is going to be really, really important. We don't want to see anyone in a situation where they have run out of money, especially 60% of the money by the end of November, and they still have, 8 weeks or 6 weeks until the second term starts. Right. And so you need to make sure you've got a really good budget going. And this slideshow will be shared out later on. We do have a link here that talks about a budgeting tool that's available through Scholar Tree. We're going to talk about Scholar Tree in a couple more slides. But taking a look at, how are you going to stretch your dollars? On campuses, there's always Tim Hortons and Starbucks, and they are really appealing. But having a $5 coffee or a $6 latte each day may not fit within your budget. So please be aware that we need to figure out, and I'm not saying you can't have fun. You need to have some fun and let off some steam sometimes when you're away at school, but you may not be able to be letting off steam each day. So we need to make sure that we're making some really good choices to make those hard-earned dollars last. So one place to look for funding and funding opportunities is through your post-secondary schools that you have applied to. And they will list quite often, well, in all cases, the schools and scholarships they have available. You can also use Google to help you do some searching for potential scholarship opportunities that are out there. One example I'm going to show here is I'm going to show Niagara College's website. So Niagara College's website right now, they have information on here for their January starts. Their September information is currently being updated. And you can always go through it and you'll be able to search and find what types of opportunities they have. Now, in addition to these scholarship opportunities here, a number of schools have entrance scholarships based on marks and academic merit. And so you should be always looking to see what those academic scholarships or entrance scholarships are often called, what they look like. There's usually with the entrance scholarships, there's no work you need to do, which is really nice. They will get applied to your account at the start of the year. So you get those tuition discounts. And the nice part is with most academic entrance scholarships, they are renewable. And so as long as you're able to maintain a certain average or grade cutoff point throughout your academic year, you can continue to receive those awards. There's no applications. There is no financial need attached. The nice part is that they automatically happen to reward you for the hard work that you've put in throughout your high school years. And then also the hard work you're going to continue to put in as you journey through post-secondary school. Close that tab. Couple other opportunities just to make you aware of with our local partners. We've enjoyed wonderful partnerships with Niagara College and Brock University. Brock University offers to the Niagara community an opportunity, something called the Brock's Principal Scholarships. And there are 2 awards per high school in the Niagara region for students who show outstanding academic achievements and a commitment to their school and their community. And students apply for these scholarships. I do believe the Brock Niagara Principal Scholarship is currently underway with a closing date coming very soon. And then the principal at each high school has the enviable task of deciding which 2 students going to Brock would be eligible for those to receive those awards. And Niagara College has also started a new award this year called the Destination Niagara Award. They are offering 150 awards, and these are valued at $3,000 each. The criteria of that is that you have to be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident or a protected person, and you are going to be starting Niagara College full-time in September. And then you will have to confirm your Niagara College offer by May 1st if you haven't already done so. The nice part about that one is it's kind of like winning the lottery. There is no application required for these ones, and Niagara College is going to go through and they're going to select 150 students at random. So that is something to look forward to, and I'm hoping that we are going to have some great success stories here in Niagara for students receiving those awards. So where do I begin my scholarship search? Well, we're going to share some resources here, and I believe these resources are also all available through your guidance departments and their various websites or D2L shells, and you can find these links. A couple of them are just going to highlight here. The first one I'm going to highlight is we do maintain one here through the DSBN. If you do travel to the DSBN website, under our secondary students tab, there's a section for awards. And just to show this one here, and we work hard to vet. This is certainly not an exhaustive list, but certainly ones that we've been made aware of over the years, and we do try to keep them up to date to have active scholarships here. The nice part about the DSBN website is that you can look by the month that the applications for the scholarships are due. So if I want to look ahead to the month of April, let the filter kick away here for a minute. And what this will do is this will change my list, or it should change my list, as to which scholarship awards will be available here in the month of April. And if I want to find out some more information about that award, let's use an example here. I don't think my list necessarily filtered, but that's okay. If I want to know some more about the Optimus International Essay Contest, I can click on this, and usually some information about how to enter, right? If there's a website for the award, there will be a website here. There it is. The website's up here at the top. The deadline, my filter didn't work, so I've got a day left. February. February is when this award would normally close, right? And I can click the link here to find out more information. And it's open to people under the age of 19 years of age. So there's usually the criteria here and some more information about the scholarship. And I can always go back to continue my search and have a look through. So a lot of the scholarships is about click and scan sometimes, and looking at that criteria. There's no real easy way to go through and have a short list. There's going to be a little bit of time and research that you are going to need to invest in doing your search, right? And there's the Brock Principal Scholarship down here is on our list. I can click on that, and it tells us about some information about that. Again, the website to go and find more information from that institution, right? So it's going through, and you are going to need to do some clicking. It's like investing a little bit of part-time job. This is not a real easy done in 15 minutes kind of undertaking. This is one that's going to require some time for you to invest to find monies for your future. And it's going to involve a lot of click and scan to go through these different sites to find ones that well suit you, because some are going to be a quick, easy match based on your profile, based on sometimes the pathway or post-secondary program you're going into, right? And so another one we're going to show here is we're going to take a look at Wyconic. The Wyconic, Scholar Tree, and Scholarships Canada, these are all very much the same. You are usually able to create an account here. And by creating an account with these sites, they will allow you to maintain some lists of information you've gone ahead and gathered, right? So I can look here at the student awards. I'm not going to sign up for an account right now. If I do sign for an account, sometimes they will send me emails and reminders to my inboxes, along with some other ones. And so I can see here again, they've got a list of different ones here. So, well, no, I'm not going to be joining right now. Thank you. So as an example here, right, some of the ones I'm seeing on my screen right now would require me, I can just tell by scanning the title here, for instance, so win-free tuition from UNB, that's the University of New Brunswick. Well, if I'm not applying to the University of New Brunswick, I'm not going to investigate that scholarship. Oh, but the Sobeys one here, Food for Thought, there's a deadline in April. Well, what's that one all about? So I can click on this and I can take a look at the Sobeys Food for Thought. There it is. Right, and the opportunity for $1,000 here. And there'll be information here about how to apply and what I need to do. Question in the chat, there is a scholarship also available to international students. You will need to read through the criteria very carefully. Some are, right? And some will specifically have criteria about citizenship or permanent resident status. So again, in part of your search, right, you'll have to read through and see what it says in here. So if I look in here, some part of the criteria here, there's no essay or GPA required. A GPA is grade point average, that's an American term. So it's open to students and parents of students enrolled in a Canadian university, college, or high school. You must be a minimum of 16 years old at the date of entry, right? So this one here has no criteria about citizenship. And so this would be open to all students. Whereas other ones you will see will have very specific listing in their criteria. And then the next question there too, we're going to address in a couple slides, but if we're going abroad, can we still apply? So from some scholarships out there, yes, you will. Using this one as an example though, because this one's geared towards a specific Canadian university or college or high school, you would not be eligible for that one in going abroad. But there are other scholarships out there that just are a little bit more general that talk about, you know, being enrolling in a post-secondary program, and the country that you're enrolling in does not necessarily matter. But there are some like this ones that do have that specific criteria. So that's part of the scan and search that makes it a little bit more challenging for people to look at. And take some time. Absolutely. Yeah, close that tab. And I know with the links here, when I go back one, with those links that were on the last, whoops. Okay, with these links here, they are also usually listed on our high school guidance websites. So if you don't catch them here, you don't have to, or if you want to, you can probably take a screenshot with your phone, but you can also find them, like I say, on your websites and in your D2L, because most of our guidance teachers share those opportunities as well. Just a couple other things just to highlight while I'm here as the workplace. So often, something that might get overlooked is some parents, their workplaces have scholarship opportunities that students can apply to. One I can think of readily is one of the local CUPE memberships do offer a scholarship to students of parents who are CUPE members. And so sometimes that is also a source to look at. Especially I find if parents work in larger corporations, there tends to be some access to some post-secondary incentives for students. Also, other things to look at too is through insurance companies. As an example, Johnson's Insurance, which is tied in with a bunch of other insurance companies, they offer scholarships to members' children's, and that you can apply to. And sometimes it's just filling in a form, and there's not even an essay or anything you need to go along with that. So take a look, through things like insurance, through parents' workplaces. Maybe as a student, you're working in a part-time job, and maybe there's a scholarship opportunity through your workplace. So leave no stone unturned. And then the other thing too is through your school guidance department, the website, like I say, these links will be there. Quite often we have great support of our local community that will provide scholarship opportunities, and your guidance department will provide those and send those out. I can think about things like the Canadian University Women's Club. There's also through Optimus Clubs in St. Catharines. There is Branscombe Foundation, which offers a bursary to students across the Niagara region. Niagara Falls, there is the McBain scholarships. And so your guidance departments will have opportunities to showcase and make you aware of those scholarships and their timelines. So what happens when things quite aren't enough? Well, sometimes we have to resort to loans, and quite often, usually, hopefully, through your work in scholarship funds and other places, you don't need a loan right away. Quite often, you'll find students might reach into loans and lines of credits if they end up in places like medical schools because you're interested in being a, a doctor, or other professional schools like pharmacy or a veterinarian. You'll see that quite often they will establish lines of credits there because of the length of time you are in school. And so you have your lines of credits that are available with you, and that is always can be arranged by speaking with your financial institution. Every financial institution, whether you're a credit union or a bank, offers opportunities for students. But I say quite often they will involve needing a co-signer or some sort of collateral to guarantee your loans. Next couple slides, we're going to go through some frequently asked questions. But again, please continue to use the chats as we go along here. Oh, I just jumped back into the chat here too, because I also see someone did mention that one of the locals, 1263, offers an annual bursary for the staff of the Niagara region. And so there's a great example for people to be aware of if you have a parent who is a member of that CUPE unit, that students can be applying for those awards. And then also, we'll be sharing the slide deck. Yes, I believe Karen will be arranging after this presentation. This recording will be available, and the slide deck will be available too for people to look at. And that's what Karen had mentioned there in the chat. So again, please, if there's any questions as we continue along, please jump in. Thank you for staying with us, and I hope you are finding this information helpful as we go. So here's an earlier question we had. What happens if I'm going to study outside of Ontario? And so there's a couple options here. This slide is geared towards people who might be, let's say, choosing to go and study in Atlantic Canada, or maybe you're looking to go to UBC or one of the other schools out west, like the University of Alberta or University of Calgary. Are you still eligible for scholarships and awards? Yes, you can be. Again, it comes down to what I'm going to call it the fine print, right? Those websites we were showing you, like the Scholar Tree and the Wyconic, usually list scholarships that are for national, right? As we saw in that Sobeys scholarship, a Canadian university or a Canadian college or a high school, you are still eligible to apply for those scholarships. What about OSAP? Does OSAP work as well? And yes, OSAP is possible, even if you are going out of province, but staying in Canada. You would have to apply for that and state that, and your funding will be based very similar to the funding that you would be eligible for in Ontario. Notice though that please remember that going out of province sometimes tuition fees are a little higher. For those of you who might be reading, Quebec is now charging higher tuition fees for places like McGill and Concordia. And so your OSAP funding will not go as far in Quebec as it would in other parts of Canada. If you're planning to go outside of Canada, are you eligible for some OSAP funding? Yes, you can be. Again, it won't be the same amount. There are a few more hoops you have to jump through with OSAP, including getting your your out of country school registered. And your eligibility for OSAP would be up to 60%. Again, are you eligible for awards? Yes, you will be. But again, it comes down to that fine print and saying whether or not, it has to be a Canadian university or a Canadian college. Now, here's a question we often get as guidance teachers in our schools, and students going like, yes, I am interested in going to post-secondary. but I don't think I can afford it. I just don't have the means or the resources right now to make that happen. So I'm going to take a year off and I'm going to go to work. Statistically, what happens and what we have seen is that students who are to take a year off are less likely to return to their studies, right? It's a hard trap to get into. You start working, you're saving money, and you get into the cycle where it's hard to break out of that cycle. One option for a lot of students, which is realistic, is working while you are going to post-secondary school. And as a calculation we can share with you here, if you were working 10 hours a week at minimum wage, you would be able to earn about $7,800. Now that's assuming too that you're not spending that money on other expenses, but that would be money you can draw on. It's not uncommon for a number of students to have small part-time jobs while they are still working. A lot of colleges and universities provide employment opportunities on campus for students. And whether that's anything from working in local student-run establishments, all these colleges and universities have what we call student unions. And quite often the student unions will run stores, they will run restaurants where students can get employment. Athletic programs are always looking for scorekeepers and looking for people to referee. There's also opportunity not only through co-op, but to develop relationships with professors and pick up research opportunities. And through working through different programs and research, those are paid positions as well. And so you have an opportunity to earn money while you are away at school. And so those are certainly options to consider. And again, but make sure you're able to balance your life. We don't want you to be burnt out by the end of October because you are working and trying to manage your workload as you go through. One other important consideration to remember too is that once you get into university, right, your school year becomes significantly shorter as well, right? You are going to go down to an 8-month school year, right? Typical school years go from September until April. And so that will give you 2 additional months in the summertime. Well, what they call their summer times are late spring and early summer to earn dollars from employment. So there's some other opportunities there. So while the cost is high, there is opportunities for you to work and continue to support those incomes. There was a question in the chat there about when you apply for OSAP. OSAP applications typically will open up starting in late spring. It always varies a little bit from year to year. I do believe the financial aid offices will be starting or anticipating planning OSAP presentations to our schools starting in late April. But definitely what they say with your OSAP applications is that you should be having those submitted before the summer starts and not to leave your OSAP application until later in the year because of processing times and also because of sometimes you might have questions you need to reach out. And so financial aid offices are definitely there to support you with your OSAP applications, but we would want to process those and have those underway starting in June. So if I'm still in that position where I choose to take the gap year, can I apply for scholarships? You're going to have to read the conditions very carefully. There are some scholarships that can be deferred, but there are also others that are going to say that you must be enrolled in school in September. And if you have one that says that you have to be enrolled in school or you have to provide proof of enrollment or acceptance, you may have to wait a year to apply for those scholarships until you're actually going into post-secondary and have accepted a post-secondary offer. Right? And so those post-secondary scholarships are applied to your year of entry. And same thing with some of the scholarships that our community members donate to us and that we also have available through DSBN that you have to be going to school next year directly in September. So please keep that in mind. So another question that comes up, what happens if I'm going to a non-traditional college, right, or university? So again, what you may have to do is that if the award requires proof of acceptance into post-secondary program, you have to be able to provide proof. And so that might be challenging sometimes for some schools with some certificate programs or apprenticeships, but it's not saying that you're not eligible for those awards. There are some awards that specifically from our donors, they want you to be going into a college or a university program. You are eligible even if it is a private school that is recognized and that grants a certificate, diploma, or a degree. So for those of you who are financial wizards and are very keen, the question is here, like, could you profit from your education? Well, if you're very disciplined, you could, right? In some cases, if you are a real go-getter and do very well with scholarship monies and bursaries and a little bit of your OSAP, if you're only pulling on your grant part, you could actually get ahead. But it takes a little bit of work to do that and a lot of discipline to do that. So basically, though, you got to think of the scholarship hunt as a part-time job. You need to spend the time. It's not a little 15 minutes, one and done opportunity. It's an ongoing process that will stay with you all the way through your post-secondary, and you're going to invest a couple hours. But investing that time can lead to great rewards. So is your scholarship money only for tuition? Not always, right? Depending on the source of your scholarship money. As an example, if you were to receive an entrance scholarship from a university, right, that will be applied directly to your account, and that scholarship money will then be applied directly towards your tuition costs. Money that you receive from third parties quite often can be used for other post-secondary costs, which could include things like your textbooks, personal protective equipment, a laptop, tools if you're going into an apprenticeship program, right? Things like your entrance scholarships for marks, they will also get applied directly to your account. And so those will also go directly towards your tuition, but that helps offset you having monies available for other things like your textbooks and your supplies that you need for school. So when should I apply? Well, if you are going to school next September, you should be looking into these scholarships now. Even if you're not going to school next September, this is a great time to start to look through and start to make your list of scholarships that you can apply for and keeping like some sort of spreadsheet or running list because scholarship dates tend not to change year to year. They're usually fairly close to one another. And so having that leg up and knowing what you are eligible for and what you can apply for is really helpful. The other point we see all the time too is even if you're not 100% matched to the criteria, it doesn't hurt to apply. Quite often we hear stories of money going unawarded, and sometimes donors, when they give money to school, the money is being given not to sit in a bank account, but to help students. And so donors want to see their money used. Even if you're not 100% fit, they would rather support a student going to school than having that money not used because they are in the mindset of helping people realize their dreams. So always keep that in mind too. So now what? What's your next steps? Well, one of the things you should have, if you don't have it yet, you need to prepare, you need to have a scholarship application letter template that you can edit easily for different scholarships. What should be in that template? Well, you need to have an introduction of yourself and the award you're applying to, a little bit about your education background, what your career goals are, and what you're aspiring to do. Yes, I am going to start this program at college, or yes, I'm going to start this program at university, but where is that going to lead me? Right? Am I looking at something beyond that? Do you have financial need if it's applicable to that scholarship? What experiences do you have that might relate you to that scholarship? And that experience can be everything from your volunteer activities that you've completed throughout your 4 years of high school, any sort of clubs, anything you've done outside of school, right? Those all matter. Even working part-time jobs matter, right? Leadership and extracurriculars, what kind of things have you done, right? They are looking for well-rounded students with a variety of experiences. So someone put in the chat here too, can you use the information you have for your personal statements? Absolutely, right? You can use that because that's a great template to start with because there's a lot of similarities there. And then you'll be tweaking those personal statements specifically towards that scholarship, right? And talking about that scholarship in there. And then also within your scholarship, always have a closing, right? That closing should be talking about, thanking them for this opportunity to review your application, right? Asking them, if they need further details, that, the availability to reach out to you. And then down at the part here is while you're creating this generic template that you can use over and over again, because it's going to save you time, remember that you need to tailor that letter to the specific requirements of that scholarship. But also, you need to proofread and have others proofread that letter before you send it off and apply for that scholarship. Because they receive a number of applications, you want yours to stand out and you don't want yours to be discarded too easily just because, spelling errors, typos, whatever, and put to the side because they need a reason to be able to cut down their pool of applicants, right? Make it hard to have a great application letter and make sure, and there's lots of ways to proofread that, have a teacher at school be your proofreader, have friends, family members be your proofreader, have AI be your proofreader, right? Lots of ways to help you with proofreading. Really, really important. Next thing, some of your scholarships are going to ask you about a letter of recommendation and support. Not all require it, but some do. Please remember that your letter of recommendation support cannot be from a family member, right? Usually they're looking for a letter of recommendation and support from your school, from your employer, from a coach, from someone you volunteered with, right? But it cannot be an immediate family member. The next point is don't leave that letter of recommendation to the night before. The reason why is that you go rushing to your guidance teacher or you go rushing to a teacher at school and say, I need this for tomorrow. Great. They will probably move heaven and earth to make that work for you. However, it's not going to be a great letter. Give them time to make a great letter of support for you. And it's really helpful for the letter writer if you can share with them, I'm going to call it, for lack of a better description, almost like a resume, right? Let them know what your accomplishments have been, what academic awards you have received. Have you been on the honor roll all 4 years? What kind of activities have been involved in and out of school, because we don't always know, right? What have you done for volunteering? What are your future career goals? Having this information really helps for your supporter to write a strong letter for you. Even if it's also like a coach, because you've been involved with a community club or a community team, providing that information to your coach or whoever it is really helps them to build a strong letter that's all about you. So please make sure you give them the time to do that and don't leave it to the night before, because you'll get a letter, but it's going to be an average letter and you want to have a standout letter. Other things to be doing is starting to look at those websites for the post-secondary schools you are considering, right? Make sure you're aware of what their entrance scholarship requirements are, especially if they have different tiers for their averages and cutoffs, right? Make sure that you're able to apply and meet the deadlines for any of the relevant-based scholarships, right? Places like Queens and Guelph, they have great scholarships, but some of their deadlines took place back in December and January. So be aware of those timelines, right? Make sure you're using Wyconic or Scholartree or scholarships and student awards, right? To look for scholarships, right? There is a lot of overlap in all these websites, but make sure you are accessing them and using those in the search to do your click and your browse, right? Your click and your scan to go through. Here's the other thing that's really important. Please make sure you are staying in regular contact with your school's guidance department by either checking whatever electronic tool they are using to communicate and post things, whether they are doing things through their D2L site, whether they're doing things through a Google site. Please make sure you are staying on top of that as they release information. We are going to start in the coming weeks, start to get very busy as a number of our local supporters start to send out scholarship opportunities. Things like the Niagara Region Quilters Guild, who is going to be providing some things for students who are specializing in the arts. We have the Branscombe Foundation Scholarship underway. The Branscombe Foundation Scholarship focus on students. It's a bursary for students from low-income families. The threshold there is usually family income is usually below $50,000, right? And a number of other criteria. That application package, because they're asking about financial need and financial statements from the parents and from the school, those are due May 1st, and that's a hard deadline, right? Absolutely. So please make sure you're paying attention to what's being sent out. And sometimes, along with also things being posted electronically, things are also posted on bulletin boards in schools. So please make a habit of being on top of those things and paying attention to what's going on. There was that question earlier about the OSAP. Like I say, don't stress about the OSAP yet, while it is an important piece. They do come out a little bit later in the spring, and there will be information coming out through the guidance teachers in your high schools to let you know about sessions that financial aid does provide to students to talk about OSAP and application processes and timelines, right? And even if you're not sure about that, OSAP applications, like I say, can definitely be started in June, and you will have that opportunity to go online and do that. One thing to topple with OSAP is to please make sure, if you haven't done so yet, one of the things you will eventually, and same thing with scholarships, is you need to have a social insurance number. And I should have put that somewhere here in the slide, so I apologize for not doing that. Social insurance numbers are really important. If you haven't had the opportunity for some of those, you need to make sure that you are also have your social insurance number available. So here's some common mistakes that people make with their scholarship applications. Number one is missing those deadlines. Deadlines are super important and they matter, right? As I said earlier, for these scholarships, organizations receive a number of applications, quite often many, and they're always needing a reason to sort out their piles. And part of that is looking at who made the application deadline. And so you don't want to miss out on the opportunity for funding when you've got a great application because you're a day late, you're a week late. It matters. You must meet those application deadlines. The other thing quite often happens too, again, is people looking to weed out applications, is they will weed out applications because you don't follow the instructions. Sometimes there's an instruction, sometimes it's an online application, and they say, okay, in this application, you can only use 250 words. Well, they mean it, 250 words. Don't go for 251. Be concise and follow those instructions on things like word counts, or, is it black pen or blue pen, right? Make sure that you are following what needs to be done and don't give them a reason to throw your application out. Avoid submitting a generic application. I know earlier in the slideshow, I talked about, you want to have a template to work on, but don't use that template. In your application, make sure you tweak that template to, talk about the specifics of that scholarship, right? Talk about how you meet the terms and conditions for that scholarship. Name the scholarship in your application, right? So be specific, and that will help. Avoid that being that generality. As I said earlier, don't ignore the importance of proofreading, right? You do not want mistakes. You want your application to shine and not be put into the rejection pile. So you want to make sure you have good grammar, right? You want to make sure you are free of typos, good formatting, right? Proofread, proofread, proofread. And as I said earlier, make sure you get help. If that help comes from the form of a teacher at your school, or, if you have a family member who's a great proofreader, or as I even said, sometimes AI can be great proofreaders as well. Don't be afraid to seek help with proofreading. Also, a number of scholarship applications rely on essays. Don't overlook the importance of having a well-formatted essay, right? In that essay, you want to showcase your unique qualities, your experiences, and your aspirations, right? Make sure your essay communicates your story and why you are a deserving student, right, for that award. Really important. Don't take that essay lightly. I'm going to take a pause here. And is there questions in the chat that you would like us to address? Don't be shy. If you do have questions and they come to you later on, please visit your guidance teacher at your high school. They are a wonderful resource and they have some great knowledge to help guide you along this process. So please have a visit with them if we don't answer a question or if you have a question that comes to you later on when you're discussing this with friends or families. Oh, I see there is a hand up. I'm not sure that you can unmute yourself, Indika. You may have to put it in the chat.
She should be able to unmute herself now.
Oh, okay.
Hi, thanks for the great information. Really appreciate it. So, uh, actually, my son goes to Centennial. So, uh, as a student, any student can have more than one financial aid assistance, like different scholarships together.
So you can take funding from a variety of sources. One thing that if I think about specifically about the OSAP application is if you are looking for some financial aid through OSAP, OSAP will ask students to also indicate if they are receiving any other awards, and so sometimes when you do the initial OSAP application, you will need to go back and add some information because you may not know, if you are receiving a scholarship or an award when you do your OSAP application. Let's say it's June and you find out at start of July that you are receiving a scholarship. So OSAP will ask you to declare if you have scholarships as part of your other sources of funding. And so in terms of transparency, you don't want to be penalized with OSAP, so you will need to go back and make those changes.
Right. So, sorry, I will be quick. So, these scholarships goes as an income and taxable.
Oh, yes. In some cases, yes, that's a good point. Yes, it is. So for scholarships received in an amount over $500, yes, they would be issued a what is it, a T 220 2000 and something slip. So yes, they would be yes, they will be considered income and they would be considered taxable. Yes, that is a good point. So they are issued or T4 slip. I was confused out with the tuition slip as well, but yes, they will issue you a slip for amounts over $500.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Walker, and thank you everyone for organizing this important event. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Hi, Barclay. This
Hi.
is Karen Tchaikovsky from Eden. The form that they'll receive when they receive a scholarship of greater than $500 is called a T4A.
Thank you.
And
I knew it was one of those.
yeah, and it's considered other income.
Yeah. Any other questions? Well, seeing none, I think I will take this opportunity to thank everyone for being here tonight. I hope you found this information helpful on your journey. As I say, any point in time, please reach out to the guidance teams in your high schools. They are certainly there to support you. Please have a visit to those websites that we shared as well to begin your process. And I wish you all the best and good luck as you pursue post-secondary and those opportunities to realize those dreams and become the people that you wish to become. Thank you, everyone, and have yourselves a great evening, and looking forward to hearing your stories and your successes in the years to come. Thank you, and have a good night.